No, we are live now.
Okay.
Take
Wonderful.
2 with Todd O'Donnell. We are live. I just had to cut the last 15 seconds because I didn't know if you had to talk to me about something super serious.
No.
Listen, before we get into all this stuff, the Blue Jays are horrible, and you might have great seats wherever it is in the TD zone or whatever you are somewhere. Mm-hmm. I've been waiting for this.
Horrible is a strong word. It's early in the season. I know you're going to argue with me. 10 games on the road. They just started on the road, Tom, and they're up 2 games on the Yankees.
Now I know.
Not up to. They beat the Yanks the last 2 nights, so they're going to win the series against the Yankees, the top team.
Now I know.
How is that horrible?
And now I know what I sound like as a Leafs fan when I'm defending the Leafs because there's nothing here. I watched the playoffs last year for the Blue Jays. Did they win a game? What was it? A 1-game wonder?
Yeah, I think they got. It was a 2 out of 3 that got beat on both. I think
both, and the base running was a horror show. And these young guys that are supposed to be clutch hitters.
We're tortured Toronto fans. We got. Well, I guess we had the Raptors 5 years ago. I mean, we had that.
I can't even remember.
How's your Toronto FC doing? Are they any good?
They were last in the league last year.
Okay, that's great. Wow, geez.
Well, I mean, they won.
And your Bills? What happened to the Bills last year?
Yeah, the Bills are struggling a little bit, but they made the playoffs. It's all good. I don't know. There's just something about the Blue Jays. I want them to be.
Yeah, they're frustrating.
I will jump on the bandwagon and not even.
You'll be looking for my tickets when they're in the playoffs and saying, "Can we go?"
Yeah.
And I'll say, "You remember that podcast back in April?" I'm like, "No."
I just can't cheer for this team. You know what it is? They just don't I feel like there's no heart. I don't know. There's something weird about it.
I hear you. Yeah, I'm not excited. Yeah.
But you think they're going to do well?
I don't know. I don't. I really don't.
Oh, good. Okay. No. We're on the same page now.
Low expectations. It's like the Leafs when they play Boston. Yeah.
I don't know when this podcast is going out, but I imagine it's going to be next week. So already there'll be 1 or 2 games. So anyone listening to this, we could be 0-2.
But maybe
we're probably up 2-0 when this podcast goes out.
I think maybe the last 2 or 3 years we've gone in with some expectations, right, with the Leafs.
Kinda.
I think maybe this is the year we're going in with none. So
we're realistic.
Yeah, maybe.
I think we know we don't have a solid goalie. We know our defense is more heart and there's not a huge talented decor there. There's some guys with heart there. Like McCabe's playing with heart.
Yeah.
Bush is playing with some heart.
Yeah.
They got that monster guy now, Edmondson. Yeah, he's tough.
Benoit. Yeah,
Benoit I love.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't know if he's the most skilled shutdown defenseman, but he throws hits, so I love him. And he faced washed Kachuk. No, he slammed one of their players on the Florida Panthers game this week.
Yeah.
So we got some players there. This is our year. Stanley Cup.
Okay.
The trophy is basically ours, Todd O'Donnell.
All right.
You're a lifelong Leafs fan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I used to watch with my grandfather. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I guess he would have. So they moved to Canada, so they were here in the prime. They moved in the early 40s.
Oh, geez.
So he would have seen the last one in what was it, 67, right?
Yeah. So my dad came to Canada in 65. One of his buddies, apparently the game was at the Gardens for the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't know if it was the last game, or the series. It's a little murky on the details, but my dad said, one of his friends said, come to this game with me. The Maple Leafs are going to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And my dad said, well, I heard they win every year. I'll just go next time. This is a true story. In 1967, that's what he said to his buddy. I heard they win every year. I will just go next time.
Okay.
So I think that's a lesson of living in the moment. That's right. The best lesson. Yeah. We were talking about this. We're going to get to serious insurance stuff in a second, but sure. Todd and I have a long history together. I was going to say, unfortunately, I'm very fortunate to have crossed paths with Todd O'Donnell. We used to work together at Oracle. But I just wanted to ask you something. We were talking about this earlier. Mm-hmm. Canadian budget just came out, or the proposed budget. I don't think it's going to, it has to go through Parliament or whatever. They have to vote on it. Yeah. Everybody's up in arms today about some of the capital gain stuff. And I would say rightfully so. Sure. We're taxed on our money. And then the money that you have left over, if you go to invest it and you are fortunate enough to have made good decisions and you make more with that investment, you're then taxed again. So Correct. You're taxed on your money that you made. Then if you invest it and it goes quote unquote up in dollar terms, you are taxed again. So it's like a beautiful, wonderful system where we're all just tax collectors. For one of my one of my brother-in-law's Italian cousins runs a very successful business here in Toronto. And he's like, we're all just basically out there working in whatever capacity you are in your business, and we're all different. We're just all tax collectors.
Yep.
Like you just happen to do it with insurance, and we happen to do it with real estate, and whoever is listening to this is doing it. And you're just collecting taxes for the government in whatever way you choose to do the collecting.
Yep. Yep.
And when you frame it like that, you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
But you've always had a very level head on stuff. Where does that come from? And what I mean by that is sometimes I will clearly get emotional about some subjects. And sometimes I will live in the future, which is not always great.
Yep.
It has served me somewhat, kind of thinking about the future. But you want to be in the present. And you seem to, I don't know, always have this approach where it's a little bit more grounded. Is that intentional, or is that just naturally how you are?
Yeah, maybe a bit of both, I guess.
So where would the intention come from?
Like if I look back on, being a business owner, like I think the intention there, like you don't want to get too, at least in my business, too overly excited and having your team saying, oh my God, the sky is falling. So, I think there's partly there, that intention part. But I've kind of always been a little bit, I can get excited. Like I can certainly get excited like the next guy, but I try not to, let things that are out of my control bother me a hell of a lot. Our tax is in my control, to an extent, I guess, by how I vote, I guess, sort of. But it is what it is. And what can I now do to maybe try to protect what I've got, I guess? Is that
like a defense mechanism where you're just trying not to get stressed about something so you don't pay attention to it? Like, is it a bit of a cop-out or no? Someone mentioned that to me the other day about people who are like, sky's not falling. Nothing's ever too positive. Nothing's ever too negative. And they were proposing that perhaps that's just this weird self-defense mechanism where you just don't want to get too high and too low.
Yeah, like I would say I try to control what stresses me. Like I think we all have enough stresses in our lives that I don't want everything that comes our way to stress me out. I wouldn't call it cop out. I think it's just a way of, controlling your emotions so that one, when I talk about my team, like, they don't see that maybe deep down there are some things that are really bothering me within the business, right? Because I want them to do their job and not panic, right? Yeah, because sometimes the fucking sky is falling. Don't worry, in my business right now, there are some areas where the sky is falling, but I try not to portray that. But I pick and choose. So there were some meetings going on at the corporate level that I could have gone to this week, and I knew that they were going to raise my blood pressure, and I just said, fuck it, I'm not going. I now pick and choose those things that I think are important to me that I'm willing to stress over. But going back to being present, no, I'm the same as you. I've always been horrible at that, and always.
Oh, I didn't say I was horrible at it.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry, you're horrible at being present, Tom. Yeah.
No, you're right. And I think other people would say, when I say that to you, how do you stay in the middle and don't live in the future, don't live in the past, and that's a positive, that you are being present. So I understand when I say something like that to you as a negative, most people would disagree, saying, no, like Todd is living in the moment and handling what he can, not getting out of, himself all in a twist on some stuff that hasn't happened yet in the future, and not staying in the past. It's actually a positive. It's just when someone proposed it to me that way, that like, no, is it actually a bit of a cop-out when you don't look into the future? Someone else said to me that some people are just incapable, that there are some of us, the way our wiring is, it's just, we're not very good at looking into the future. It's just not something that people are good at.
I can see that. Yeah.
And I think now at this age, I can kind of see that. I don't like to even talk about that because I feel like it's such an important thing that I want people to be able to extrapolate out their lives. Because I guess I feel like it's really served me so well. But then also, is that like just a selfish thought? Like, who cares? Like, if they're happy in the moment, they don't have to.
Well, that's just so I think, it's funny. I think about that all the time. Like, okay, so am I right by worrying about this and worrying about my future? Or is the guy who's over here having a great time every fucking day, has he got it right?
Totally.
Right?
Just doing whatever he's doing.
Collects his paycheck every day, having a great time.
Going having a few beers. Right? Going to the Jays.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe he's right.
Why are you always thinking about the inflation rate and debasement?
Yeah, that's right.
You're just miserable.
Don't get so worked up.
Yeah. But shit.
No.
When you started, so now you've been in business for yourself, I guess, 15 years or so.
Be 16 on May 16 May 1st when I opened the doors. I was in the business about 5-6 months prior to that. But.
Okay. And if you've never heard Todd before, Todd is in the insurance business.
Yep.
And what was the thinking when you quit your corporate job? Because we were both at Oracle together. Then we both went different ways for a couple of years there in between.
Yep.
But what was the thinking? Was there like a decisive moment? Like, okay, yes, I'm going to go ahead now and quit these corporate roles and start my own business because of this reason? Or was it just a natural progression?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both. We were just talking about one of those businesses I had started back when I was an employee. And
go ahead, tell everyone how great you are about wine.
Yeah,
go ahead, sure. Yeah.
So this is what my 5th or 6th business, but this is the first one I went at kind of full time. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, and I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My stepfather had his own business. My dad had his own law practice. So it's kind of all I knew, and I just. I think the experience is great that you get working somewhere, and we've talked about Oracle a million times. Just how valuable that experience was, the training. But I always knew that it just wasn't for me. And like the meetings, like, do you remember the meetings? Like, it's just like, fuck me. Why are we sitting here for 2 hours or 4 hours? And now, in my environment, so I'm an independent contractor with, I can say Desjardins. So it's a large. We're actually not a corporation, we're a cooperative. But anyway, there's a corporate environment.
I think we've all heard of Desjardins.
Yeah, heard Desjardins. Yeah. But there's still meetings. But I just blow them off. I don't have to because I'm not an employee. I don't go. And even we have some incentive trips and things that you earn, and there's meetings. I don't go. And I remember getting called out by kind of the head of Desjardins at the time, like, "Oh, you think you're so cool?" I said, "It's got nothing to fucking being with cool." I said, "My time is valuable." I'm in Banff for wherever I am.
Your life on your terms.
Yeah, that's right. Your life, your terms. I said, you bring me to a beautiful place. You want me to sit in a fucking meeting for 6 hours? No way. I'm going skiing,
Good for you.
Anyway,
yeah. You give me flashbacks to Oracle and some of those meetings we had to sit through. But some of the positive meetings, the amount they invested in us in our sales training. Like, you remember Winning Inc.? Did you take the Winning Inc.?
Yeah, that was Sandler. Yeah, I think we were.
Sandler Sales Systems.
We were, I guess at the Platinum, we were talking about Sandler. So I just put my team through that. So any new team member now will go through the Sandler sales team, but I had my whole sales team go through their sales mastery. Yeah,
that was the best.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah.
And then I must have taken probably.
And it's expensive. So knowing now after having to pay for it out of pocket myself, I'm like, holy shit! Like they put a lot of us through that. That would have cost them a fortune.
And not just that, there was another half dozen other sales training that we went through. One of them was a board game where you had to play the role of CFO, COO, CEO, and you went around the board game earning money. And then one was you were trying to balance doing the balance sheet and income statement. I forget all the details, but it was the first time that it forced you to sit in these other hats. Cause I was the tech guy that always thought you should buy this Oracle software because this feature is really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that like the CFO is thinking about things from a totally different perspective than how cool this little feature of the Oracle database is. So I thought that was always a really powerful training. And then some of the I'll never forget some of the presentation skills training. I took one at Oracle. I think they put the sales consultants through it. I don't know if the sales teams, I don't know if this is one you would have had access to or not, but it was just incredible. It was talking about how to stand in front of a group and just speak. Yeah. And I took so much value from that. I'm just forever thankful. And it must have been, honestly, I guess tens of thousands maybe in sales.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then working with all the salespeople there and dealing with all you freaking animals, that was really great. Yeah. By the way, Todd was a sales rep. I was a sales consultant that did the demonstrations. And then I just switched hats and became a sales rep because I was like, shit, if Todd can do it. I was like, oh shit, if Todd's doing this, I should probably.
Anybody can, yeah.
And then now looking back on the journey, running your own business for 16 years, I guess I'm putting you on the spot, but like is there anything that stands out of like what was important to get this far? Because you've survived as a business owner now.
Yeah.
Is there something that stands out to you that you reflect back and think, wow, like, that really served me. Your people skills, I don't know, your the attention to the bottom line. I don't know. Is there something that you can reflect on? Just showing up every day and being consistent?
Yeah, like I think the showing up part, I'm not a details guy. I do look at the numbers. Obviously, that's important to the business and knowing you're making money. But, going back to, I grew up in the car business. So my stepfather was a wholesaler.
Okay.
So for those who don't know what a car wholesaler is, and I'm assuming they're still out there.
They are.
All right. Tom, you trade in your 2013 Ford F-150 and you're picking up a new car at the Ford dealership.
The dealers call the wholesaler.
Yeah, they call the wholesaler like, hey, we don't want this car, or I have no idea what it's worth. So they say, hey, John, what's this car worth? So his job, I remember I used to love going on the road with him because he had a different car all the time. So because he'd buy one and slap his plate on the back of that car, and we'd come home in a different car. And I'm like, I'd go out and I'm like, what the fuck does he do all day? We would hop in the car, we'd go to Tim Hortons, he'd get a box of donuts, we'd go talk to some dealer for an hour, and then we'd hop back in the car, he'd go get some more donuts or something, we'd go to see another dealer, and they just shoot the shit all day. I'm like, fuck, this is easy. How is this even a business? But you were talking about showing up. That's what he was doing. He was there, top of mind every single day. And to me, I think that's one thing that I brought into my business, is the importance of, showing up for the team every day, but just showing up to knock on doors. I know you guys are big marketers, Google and social media and everything you do there. To me, in my business, the easiest and best way to find our ideal client is go to knock on their door or pick up a phone versus waiting. Right? Yeah, call it a lost art. And I think that has been why we've been so successful. Is I think a lot of other people, I don't think it matters what kind of business you're in, they're so concerned about the plan and making sure it's perfect. And I got this Google campaign. It's going to make the phones ring. I don't even know if I want that person who's looked at that Google ad and clicked on. I want to find the ideal person I want to do business with, right? So I think it is a bit of a lost art. Is that hustle part, right? I guess that's the word, is the hustle. I grew up in the hustle business, the used car business. I mean,
that's weird. So I wonder if that did have a really big impact on you, because when you were living out on the east side of the city, you then moved to Kitchener to start your first location out in Cambridge.
Yeah.
And I remember you were living east side of Toronto, but then driving out to Kitchener in the winter, and you were knocking on, did you have to knock on was it 1,000 doors? And it's just always stuck out to me that you would draw, the commitment you had to just go door to door. Weren't you just announcing that you were going to open up an insurance agency in the area or something?
Yeah. So they're back in the day with State Farm, their philosophy was you needed the 1,500 X dates to open. So that's people who said, yes, Todd, you're opening an office. Yeah, give me a call. I'd love to get a quote. So how many doors I actually knocked on? I mean, to get 1,500, I could probably knocked on 5,000 because there's a lot of people aren't home.
So then it would be pitch black,
cold.
And so where did you park your car? Just at the side of a
so I would have a map, so old school map, and I would highlight, okay, I'm going to hit these 2 streets or 3 streets. I would park it somewhere along that way and just get out of my car.
Did you have a moment in your car where you're like, I'm not getting out today?
Oh, fuck, every day. I was living on the Danforth. I would drive from the Danforth to Aurora. That's where the head office was. Hop in my car, hop on the 407, Cambridge, X date. So I think I did that.
Why did you go to Aurora first?
Because that's where the training was.
Oh, okay.
So they would, you would quit your job. They hire you on as an employee for 4 or 5 months, train you, and then, okay, you're self-employed once you open your office. But that was their philosophy, is getting these X dates. So yeah. So I think I did Tuesdays and Thursday nights, and then Saturdays I would drive out as well.
Did some people just hate you when they opened the door?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Something with but
did anyone ever just tell you to fuck off?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, do you like people listening to you knocking on your door?
No,
nobody does. Now, this was 16 years ago, so I think
it was a little easier.
It was a little easier. Trying to do that today, I think it would be even
just
tougher.
Look through the Ring doorbell and yell at the person.
But I mean, I had, we cut all ties. Tara quit her job. I had quit my job.
So you burned the bridges.
So yeah, I had to do it, right? If I didn't, then we were fucked. I mean, you're fucked anyway when you open a new business because you don't have money, but
you had kids already.
Yeah, 2 kids, young kids. Yeah. So this would have been, so I started doing that, say winter of 2007. So I would have had a 18-month-old and a 3-year-old.
And you had did you have any savings to fall back on?
I had a little bit of savings. I had access to a credit line. That's really what got us by is the credit line. Right? Totally. Thank God for the banks. Now, granted,
never say thank God.
They were smart. So hang tight.
And don't point your finger at me.
Hang tight. So they were smart. State Farm said, okay, right now you're an employee. So we want you to go to your bank and get a credit line.
Yeah, that was smart.
Because as soon as you open your door,
they're going to hate you.
You are self-employed with no record of income. They're not going to give you shit. So thank God they told us that, because I lived on that for off and on for the first few years.
Oh.
Yeah, you know it.
Oh my God, right? I remember paying for the property taxes on my house from the credit line on that house.
Yeah,
and I remember doing that transfer, thinking this is not the sign of success.
But maybe like me, like when I was doing it, like I'm thinking, yeah, this is wrong. But I don't know, for some reason I wasn't worried.
Same.
Right? I wasn't like, oh, what the fuck am I doing? I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I will figure out a way.
Yeah, it's weird. I wonder I remember when I quit my job, we lost 9 deals with investors in a row. Mm-hmm. And it didn't faze me because we just wanted the right thing for the investor. Like I was never concerned with making the commission from the deal. It was always just like, oh shit, like why are we losing these deals? Like hopefully we can get these investors like a deal. They clearly want one and we weren't getting it. And I remember Nick, I'll never forget, coming out of that office, he turned, we were in the same car. He opened the door and he spoke to me over the roof of the car. And he's like, if we don't make a deal soon, like it's going to get pretty tough for us and specifically for you. Cause Nick he was just getting married. He had no kids.
Yeah.
And I had 2 kids, the mortgage, Carol was at home and it didn't even faze me. I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, of course this is going to work. Like, I don't even understand what you're talking about right now. Yeah. I appreciated that he said that and had that concern, but in my mind, it was just like, no, we're going to make this work.
Yeah. But your dad had his own business, right?
He did.
Yeah. So, and maybe that's what it was, because we grew up in that environment where we're inherent risk takers, and we grew up in that environment where there was good times and bad times owning a business. Like,
my dad's time was good times and really good times.
Like, we were talking about the Jays before we got on here. Or were we talking about the Jays? Yeah, at the beginning of the podcast. So we used to have Jays tickets through my stepfather's car business. And then there were times, towards the end where they had to move because of the credit line got so large.
My dad had split Maple Leafs Garden season tickets for the Leafs, and I used to go, and then they were gone. I'll tell you a story on the Maple Leaf tickets. One day, my dad didn't really spend time with us, but for whatever reason, I guess there's this one playoff game.
Do you need a tissue?
No, I'm good. I'm through that.
Okay, all right.
Before I did 6 months ago. Yeah. He takes Nick to a playoff game, and the way they did them
was Nick the favorite?
No, I don't think so. I think we were both equally treated minimally as kids of his. Good father. I say that jokingly. Like I did learn a lot of stuff from him.
Sure.
Just now I'm having flashback upon flashback, but he takes me to he takes Nick to this Maple Leaf Gardens playoffs. And the way they did the tickets back then, it was like a stub of tickets, and they would peel them off, kind of all attached. Yeah. He went to the ticket. And he had 4 seats, if you could believe it. And he sold, I know. And he had 2 of them that he'd
silver spoon.
Totally. At that moment, when I said there was good times, and then there were really bad times.
I know.
Sold 2 of the tickets outside, as a scalper. Yeah. Then they sell 2 tickets. They go into the game. And as they're going into the game, they hand the tickets to the guy who's going to take the stub off and let them in. And he's like, this is the wrong game. Like, this is not this game. my brother and my dad said they both had like a heart attack moment because they realized they sold 2 tickets to some poor guy and his kid.
Oh, shit.
Who obviously thought they got scammed. And they didn't know what to do, so they just ran back to the car, took off. And I'm like, oh my God, what did you guys do? So they were totally just embarrassed and like, anyway, so these are the kinds of things that happen.
Jesus.
Confirm your tickets. I guess now that doesn't really happen anymore. It says the date very clearly. I guess it would say the date before. I don't know why that happened.
Well, when you got a stack of,
Oh, but the Gardens was the place to see the game.
Oh, it was awesome.
Oh,
you ever go to wrestling there?
I think I did.
Yeah. Boxing?
No, but I think Muhammad Ali fought a huge fight there against.
I think he did.
Chavala.
Yeah, that was before my time.
Me too. Yeah. So I'm not saying this properly, but I think there was a big fight there. And then apparently my Dad got in a huge fight at the boxing fight. That's right. There was a big brawl that he was involved in. That's right. I forgot about this. That spilled out onto the streets. It's like him and a bunch of buddies. And I think there was like a big Croatian community. There was a big Italian community, and they just all started going at it over something. And and they just went at it, and it spilled off onto the street outside. Yeah, I forgot about that. I don't know how we started on this subject.
No idea. No clue.
Maple Leaf Gardens. But anyway, when you started going back to your business, just to kind of wrap this up on this thing, would you go like, has it been the right move for you? Like, do you ever look back and say, I wish I had done things differently? Things have worked out the way you would have hoped they worked out going to your business? For your family, for you as a person?
I'm happy with where we are. I don't typically live in the past and regret anything. Yeah. Could I have done things differently? Yeah, for sure. But they're learning experiences. Like, you learn from all of them. I like where my business is at. I like where my family situation is at, where my freedom of time is at, which is important to me. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, it's stressful. I mean, are you sometimes envious of the people that have a job that they can go home at 5 and never think about it until they roll back in at 9? Yeah, like, would that be nice some days? Maybe, but I don't want to be begging for vacation time and can I get the afternoon off to go to the Leaf game? Yeah. Like, I can't even imagine.
What kind of calls, I'm going to switch subjects a little bit. So they proposed this budget change, the capital gains tax change for corporations, people holding investments in a corporation. It just got announced last night. So this is pretty fresh. I've had a bunch of calls into me, kind of twofold. Some think it's not that big of a deal. A bunch of others are like I would say pissed off. Where are you coming in? Is this the kind of thing where your kind of middle ground is like, it's not that big of a deal? Or how are you thinking about this stuff?
I guess middle ground, because I got a call today from a buddy. I knew it was coming last night and just, busy, and I had a busy morning. I didn't even have a chance to, I knew I was going to get to it and have a look at what they had announced, because I'd heard, some rumors about, and I think the only thing I'd read the other day was, the top less than 1% of the wealthy. I'm like, well, fuck, that's not me. So I don't really worry about it. So I'm not going to rush to read what it was. But then when I had a friend call today about the capital, the change to the capital gains tax, and he was approaching me. So you talk about your clients calling you like, hey, just talking about some of our, hey, would a participating life insurance product be better than this investment account I'm doing? So I haven't had a chance to digest
there might be some analysis there
and really think about it, but I'm kind of like, this does affect our clients, and because a lot of what we deal with is we deal with a lot of successful business owners that have whether they're buying real estate or businesses that at one point they're going to get rid of, whether it's on their own or when they die. So we talk a lot about, okay, well, you need to think about the tax consequences. Well, now that's changed, because now that it's going to be higher taxes when they do have to dispose of these assets, right? So
maybe it's just going to be higher taxes forever, Todd. So everyone's just going to need more and more insurance forever.
No, taxes come down. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I guess in some virtual reality, some dimension other than here. But there's something on this subject that always kind of just gets me going. And this is not thinking in the present. This is thinking in the future. Is that we recently did this. We had one of our Your Life, Your Terms events, and we talked about, there's like a base hurdle rate that your investments must achieve. Otherwise, you're kind of falling behind. And if you look at the growth of M2, which is the liquid money supply, kind of like money in the bank accounts and money market funds, from the year 2000 until present day, it's just under 7%. It's like 6.94% compounded growth annually. So I'll round that up to 7%. So you kind of have to beat 7% a year in your income or your net worth, or you're falling behind, because the purchasing power of the Canadian dollar is getting debased at that rate. So if you don't keep growing your income and your net worth at least 7% compounded a year, you're falling behind. And that's kind of like the secret little theft that goes on that makes people look around after 10 years of working going, I don't understand why I'm not getting ahead. Like, I'm getting some pay raises and I think I'm doing well, but everything seems more expensive, and it creates a bit of angst in society. And then it gets a bit worse than that, because if you boil it back to the Federal Reserve, like the main central bank that the Bank of Canada and everyone else around the world is essentially a derivative of, their balance sheet, the way they stuff and create new money and stuff that money into the economy, their balance sheet is growing at a faster rate than that. And the base money that they help create is growing at about 13% compounded annually.
Holy shit.
So then if you really want to protect your purchasing power, and base money includes more than M2, so it's including, collateral that might be on the books of different banks and stuff like that. So that is a rate that, like, if you're like, I definitely want to make sure my purchasing power doesn't decline. Well, you shouldn't be trying to beat 7%. You should be trying to beat 13%. Yeah. So for kind of shits and giggles, I was like, okay, if somebody comes out of school and they are earning $60,000 a year, and they then, they want to make sure they're increasing it, not 13%, but just...
Is that what a kid makes coming out of school now? 16?
Well, I don't know, some do. I know some, if you're a superstar engineer and programmer and stuff, some of them are...
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah.
I'm just taking a number. You're right. Some are going to be less, some are going to be more. Bear with me for example purposes, Todd.
Okay.
Can you bear with me?
Yeah.
Can you give me this?
Yes.
Can you give me this?
Yeah.
All right. $60,000 a year. And they want to stay ahead. So they want to go for the 15%, not the 7, not the 13. They're like 13 plus a couple extra points just so that I'm getting ahead of the debasement. If you multiply 60,000, so let me do this, 60,000 times 1.15 on my Apple phone calculator. And then if I hit equals one time, and then if I hit it 10 times, hold on, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At the end of 10 years, 60,000 is, if you are wanting to keep up with that debasement and do a little extra, you have to be earning $242,000 a year.
Ouch.
But get this. Now let me do it for 20 years. Another 10 years, starting here. You ready? Hold on. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You ready to see this number? $981,000 a year. So if you come out of school and you're fortunate enough at the age of 22, 23, 24, and you get this $60,000 a year job, and you're like, oh, this is pretty good.
It seems like good money, right? Yeah. When you're
44, 20 years later, if the debasement continues at 13%, you're trying to outpace it with a bit extra, you better be earning $981,000 a year to have the same purchasing power.
Yeah. You imagine going into your boss at Oracle every year and asking for 15%?
Oh God. I remember I got a sticky note once, and the salary increase was so small on the, first of all, the commission rate. I don't know if you ever had this. Maybe as a sales consultant, like our commission rate, it was a sticky note, and he started writing 0.000, and then he ran out of space, so he started to have to go in at an angle on the sticky note, and it was like 0.0134692, and they're like, that's the commission you get on all the sales that go on around here. And I was like, I had no idea what that number meant, so I'm like, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And the salary increase, like I remember once, I think at Oracle support, I think I got like 2.5% increase or something. It was like a cost of living increase, I think they called it, or something. But 15%. And then imagine asking for 15% again.
Yeah. Again. Yeah. Every
like the next year.
Yeah.
And again.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that kind of freaks me out. And I think that's what, and remember, that's the growth of the monetary base since the year. And let me take that back. That actually, the math I did at 13% was since the year 2008, the great financial crisis, when they really went ballistic with, quantitative easing and increasing the balance sheet. And then if you look at the interest on the U.S. debt right now, it's annualized at $1.1 trillion. So the annual interest on the debt is $1.1 trillion, which is just, but get this. In December this year, damn it, the chart's not in front of me. If they don't change rates and keep the rates the same, December this year, 2024, I wish the chart was in front of me. It's 1.8 trillion.
In 1 year.
It's 1.1 trillion right now. It's 1.1 right now. Later this year, if interest rates don't come down, it's 1.8 trillion. And it might be 1.6. I don't have the chart right in front of me, but my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're just looking around like, how do we all like what's happening? Like the debasement's happening right in front of us, and it's happening at a pace where this like debt spiral is going, where you need to pay attention. Like to me now, like if you don't pay attention, 5 years from now you wake up and you're like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I would say like that's probably something that I probably didn't think about 15, 16 years ago.
No.
And I, getting the business up again, that was all I was concerned
You're so focused, you don't have time. And most Canadians, I don't think, have time to think about it. You got kids.
No.
You're going to hockey. You're going to soccer. You're going to baseball. Yep. You're working 2 jobs maybe.
Yep.
You're getting home. You got to make lunches. You got to get the kids to school. You have time to think about debasement?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have time. You just
debasement. That's what's below the first part, right?
Yeah, it's underneath you. What is going on in debasement? It's funny. Hey, if the insurance thing doesn't work out, you should look into comedy.
That's right.
You're
I know. I've thought about it.
I was going to talk about that movie, but now we'll spare it.
Okay.
But yeah, I really think that people who weren't paying attention to it before. Mm-hmm. I was at Longo's and I know the butcher there, and he was saying that they sell steaks and they wrap them up and people are shocked by the price of the ribeye, but he guessed they're embarrassed to not take the steak. So they're finding them in the aisles.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
That people are, and then somebody on our team just sent me a picture of some meat stuffed into a freezer that they had purchased. Yeah. And I guess they abandoned it in the freezer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, these things are affecting kind of like people are starting now. You can't just talk about it and ignore it now when the grocery prices the way they are. Yeah. And it's just kind of like interesting to me to see how we're all going to adjust over the next few years. It's a little, I don't know, it's somewhat disheartening. And then it forces people into things like real estate, which gets such a bad name. We just have some media reaching out to us now, and I'm not sure we should engage with them because they want some comments on investors. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Nobody wants to be a real estate investor, really.
No.
It's a second order effect of a system that forces you into buying some assets to get some leverage to be able to outpace this debasement. And then real estate investors are vilified. Kind of like
it's your fault.
It's there's no housing because of these investors. It's like, well, there wouldn't be all these investors if the base of the money wasn't losing value that forced people like who really wants to be a real estate investor? Yeah. Not really that many people, but it kind of forces you into this thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Todd, I'm looking at you for all the solutions. So you better have some.
Well, no, I would like going back again. I this isn't stuff I used to think about, and now I do, and now I am. I somewhat heavily invested into real estate and other assets now, where it's like, okay, like
you're allowed to say Bitcoin. It's fine.
Yeah, and Bitcoin. Like I used to sit on cash. I used to love that.
Same.
Like in the business, I'm like, good. Okay, okay, I've got like a little nest egg, my safety net for the family, and then it's like, fuck.
It's just getting.
I gotta stop
eroded.
This. Yeah. So for me, real estate is.
So on that note, I guess when it comes to insurance and real estate right now, are there any big? Is everything kind of status quo? Is there any big trends people need to be wearing? I know sometimes rates change and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For real estate investors, is there any obvious mistakes some investors are making when they come to you to insure rental properties?
I wouldn't say mistakes. And there's not really, trend wise, like, rates are going up, and that's, a lot to do with construction costs and inflation, right? I mean, we're not in our own little silo here. We're not affected by inflation. So that's had a huge impact. And, the cost of construction, like, especially during the pandemic.
Like the build cost, right? Like it doesn't really, the land isn't really insured. There's
no, we're not worried about the land. So if a house goes from it's on the market from $500,000 to $2 million, we don't really care too much about that. We're more concerned about what's the cost to rebuild that home. So maybe 5 years ago, that cost was $400,000. Well, now it might be $600,000. So, that would be one concern that, people out there might want to look at is, okay, geez, do I have enough coverage for this building?
Oh, got it. Because some old policies might not be at the right rate.
Yeah. So, it depends. Like with a lot of investment properties, like, some carry what's called guaranteed replacement costs. Some don't. With us specifically, most don't. And what that means is there's a set amount. So we typically tie it to the mortgage amount. So if you buy a house for $700, the mortgage is $500. Our rebuild might only be $350, but we insure it for the amount of the mortgage because the bank wants that, and that's really what it comes down to. But if we don't, if you're not paying attention to that number.
Oh, geez.
Could be. Now, as an insurance company, we typically will add on an amount every year to that rebuild based on the CPI. So that's
great.
Going up.
CPI. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Now, the other trend, and again, rates are going up, but what people may be finding is, and this is related to the auto insurance side of our business in the industry, is the losses, it's regulated. Auto insurance is regulated, so you have to file with the government, say we need this much rate because we're losing this much money. They may or may not give that rate that the insurance company is looking for, so the insurance company will go and find it somewhere else. Home insurance, insurance for investment properties, well, that's not regulated. You can charge whatever you want.
I didn't know auto insurance is regulated.
So even though on the fire side of the business, the property side of the business, the insurance company may be profitable, they may still be taking rate to supplement their auto insurance because they're losing money over there.
Oh, wow.
So you may find that, well, why is it increasing more than inflation? Why is my rate up more than inflation? Well, inflation is only 6 or 7. Yeah. Why is it up 10?
Got it.
That could be what they're doing, and probably is what they're doing because they're trying to supplement.
Okay, and every insurance company will be doing that at different times.
Exactly.
And that's why you call one insurance company and it's a different rate, than a different insurance company.
Yeah.
And then if you have, I always call it tenants insurance. Is it contents insurance for tenants to get insurance? What's the name?
Yeah, tenant insurance, renters insurance, contents insurance. Yeah.
Okay. So for tenants insurance, is that something you guys sell as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the value for that for investors is that if the tenant lights something on fire, it's going through that. Now, I'm not talking about you because you have the policies and I know that might affect you, but just for me, the person who's, owning that property, is it's better if they have tenants insurance because it's going to go through that policy and not the property policy?
Yeah, so good question. So yeah, we typically encourage, if you're buying a rental property, to have your tenants get their own insurance for a few reasons. So if the tenant does cause damage, your insurance company is the landlord. The landlord's insurance company is going to fix that damage. But if the tenant has their own insurance, then the landlord's insurance company can go after that tenant, go after their insurance company to say, okay, your tenant screwed up, they caused the damage, you're paying us back. So now all of a sudden I don't have a huge loss on my record of $100,000. I only have a small loss because we recuperated or subrogated against that insurance company. But there's a couple of things. So often, because we get this, hey, Todd, there's been a loss and, my tenant wants me to put them up somewhere. That is not your responsibility as a landlord. So if there's a loss in the home and they can't live there, that's what they get tenant insurance for, because their tenant insurance will pay for them to live in a home.
You've put up tenants before, though.
I myself?
Yeah, I think that we had someone when a house burnt down. They were installing a water softener.
Yeah, no. Their insurance company put the.
That was their insurance.
Okay. Their insurance.
Okay.
The tenants insurance.
So they had tenants insurance.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, because it's not your responsibility to pay.
Okay. You remember that story I'm talking about?
Oh, I remember.
They installed a water softener and burnt the whole house down.
Burnt the whole house down, but.
Yeah.
It was handled. We were able to subrogate. Yeah, we handle it. We do everything. We get you back to where you need to be. And then there's just some subrogation that goes on in the background.
Right. And I've noticed in my area, for whatever reason, there's been a couple houses burned down. It looks like stuff in the garage, like, I don't know, random stuff.
Yeah.
It does seem like on those houses, it takes forever to get the rebuild going. Is it just insurance companies, the contractors they use are just on no big rush? Like sometimes it looks like the house is sitting with fire damage for like 6 months until.
Yeah, I mean, it probably depends. Like there's an investigation that has to happen, especially with fire. Like, okay, what has happened here? Okay. So there's going to be some investigation, but a lot of it too is the contractors, like getting somebody that can actually get out there and build it, right? So we're at the mercy, like even with smaller losses, like we hear it first, like, it's taking forever to get my kitchen redone.
You suck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We hear it, and it's like, man, it's the contractor, they can't get out for 9 weeks because they're backed up because everybody's renovating their home, right? So
because everyone has a university degree and we have no plumbers and electricians.
That's right. Correct.
What about on like other life insurance type policies like critical illness and stuff? Like now that you've been doing this for some time, have you seen an obvious mistake where people make mistakes on that? Because I've always felt that those insurance policies are a hard sell for me. Have you seen this, or do like people discount getting critical illness insurance and you're like, they are missing the obvious here?
So on the mistake side, I would probably say that probably lies more with us initially.
Okay.
Maybe even
because you undersell it?
Undersell, even having a conversation about it. Right.
So some people do need it and regret not having it.
Oh yeah. Now I would say, and going back to, the training that we got at Oracle and then putting my team through that is, just having better conversations with people and having them, okay, well, what happens if your wife is in the hospital and, you got a job that's hourly and you got to take 61 days off work. Like how does that affect the family? Like, you know, are you going to be able, is there enough money? Is there a rainy day fund?
It's a horrible conversation.
Yeah. Like it's a tough conversation, but it's, you know, I think we're better at having that. Some people don't care. Oh, fuck, I'll figure it out. You know, my mom will, you know, she'll go to the hospital. Like I'll just stay at work or, whereas others are like, oh, like it's, oh shit. Yeah. We didn't really think about that. Right. So yeah, it's, I would say most of that was on us initially. You know, it's about having good conversation with people and trying our best to, relate it to what's going on in their life and does it make sense? And what would that impact be? Right. Like really getting down to the heart of that and then letting them make that decision. Right.
And then on life insurance, what is the split between people who get life insurance and what ratio would it be term versus like is it participating? Is that the language I use? Whole life?
Yeah. So it's whole life and term.
Yeah. What's the split on term versus whole life on what's...
man, I don't, these certainly wouldn't be...
Ballpark.
Yeah. Ballpark, I would say 80% term.
Oh, really?
20%
wow,
permanent.
60-40, like 60% term.
No.
80% term.
80% term. And the, you know, a lot of that reasoning is, you know, we talk about debasement of money and, you know, especially right now, people are getting pinched everywhere. So you take a young family that, you know, mom and dad are working, you know, they're making the mortgage payments, you know, they're going to the grocery store and, you know, making decisions about what they're buying.
Everyone's looking at the grocery bill.
To feed their family. But there's a huge need, right? They've got a large mortgage. They've got 2 young kids. So term kind of looks after that. Hey, well, I've got kids at home and I've got this big mortgage. Term insurance will cover that. I need the peace of mind of, well, my kids are at home and before, you know.
Typically it's cheaper.
It's cheaper, typically initially. Permanent insurance is more for, when we talk about investors, that, because there's kind of, you know, sort of, I would say 3 type of business owners or investors.
Okay.
And I'm talking, you know, down the road, long term here. So there's those that don't think about what's going to happen way down the road. They've got all these assets. They're just building and they're running a business or they're building up these assets and that's just what they do. And they don't think about it. There's the other people that are doing this for their family. They're trying to build a legacy and they don't want Mr. Trudeau taking a goddamn penny of it. So how do I try and preserve all those assets so that it gets passed to my children tax-free? It's not tax-free. Somebody's paying the tax bill and it's us as the insurance company. So that's where permanent insurance comes in, where it's like, no matter when you go, there's going to be a policy that's going to be there to pay those taxes. So and then there's others that are like, well, fuck them, you know, like, yeah, they can just sell all they're still going to be rich. Or there's still going to be lots left over. They can sell the 6 buildings and they'll each pocket enough cash. I'm not, you know, trying to fund the rest of their lives. So that's kind of the 3 different sort of mindsets that we got it there.
Yeah, no,
and that permanent comes into more for those that are.
We see it more with more and more clients who have some properties getting these whole life policies or permanent policies or whatever we're calling them here to then, you know, I think it's like, you know, the last to die, what is like both parents pass away.
Yeah. So if it's truly for when you know the last parent has gone, it's called the joint last to die. So it's, you know, when the final parent goes, that it's there to basically pay that tax bill.
What are other insurance policies that I'm not familiar with? Is that the main ones? Home, auto, critical illness, term, whole life. Yeah.
I mean, there's disability too. So, you know, that's more. So critical illness, for those who don't know what that is, that's, you know, let's say, you know, Tom was diagnosed with cancer. He had a policy for $100,000. He gets a lump sum. It's almost like a life insurance policy where it's a lump sum. Here you go. There's $100,000. You do with it what you want to do. So if Tom wants to go to Switzerland to get some kind of treatment that's not offered here because he's got a unique kind of cancer, he can do that. Or if Tom wants to take his family to Disney World for 2 weeks, he can do that. Whereas disability is kind of like ensuring that the ATM, right? That's ensuring your monthly paycheck. So I'm a plumber and I'm a one-man show and I'm supporting, you know, my wife, 3 kids and a mortgage, and I get into a car accident or I don't know, something happens and I lose my legs and now I can't do my job. It's that, okay, we're going to give you that monthly income until you're 65 or whatever it is, right? So it's a little bit different, whereas critical illness is lump sum. Disability is we're going to continue to pay you that monthly amount that you need to survive.
On the whole life policy, have you ever, there's a cash value to that policy after a certain amount of years. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had anyone try to dip into that? Like, how,
all the time.
Okay, so how do you, you just go to the bank and you say, or do you go, do you have the contacts for that? Like, let's say there's a cash value of a policy that's like $500,000.
Yeah.
And you want to access that cash value that's part of that whole life policy.
Yeah.
How do you get that? What's the process?
So there's a few different ways. So depending on the type of policy. So if you want to do it direct with the life insurance company. So let's say it's a large policy and there's $500,000 in the cash value. The best way, and let's say you don't need all 500.
Sure.
You say, hey, Todd, you know what? We're thinking of buying a property. I'd like to use as much as I can here to help with that down payment. We then go to our life department and say, okay, how much can Tom take out of this policy tax-free? Because not all of that $500,000 is going to be tax-free.
Okay.
There's going to be a portion that is taxable.
Okay.
There's a formula. So it depends on how long it's been in force and how much
government, yada, yada, yada.
The government changes their rules. But anyway, so that's kind of the easiest way is, okay, what can I take out tax-free? And they'll do that. They'll do a withdrawal for that. Now, what I think you're referencing is that somebody who has a large policy that, let's say the death benefit is, I don't know, let's say it's $4 million, but there's $500,000 sitting in the cash fund. And they're like, you know what? I don't care. And depending on the policy set up, if you take that money out, then maybe it decreases the policy by the amount you take out. But hey, I've still got whatever, $3.5 million in life insurance. That's fine. Yeah. My family's going to be okay. The most tax efficient way to do that is you go to the bank and say, okay, I've got this asset here. I've got $500,000. I want to get a credit line against that. So
and they'll do that.
Not all will, but some will. So basically they'll say, okay, you assign that portion of the policy to us so that if you die, we're getting our $500,000. The bank. And if they agree to that, then you can basically take out against that credit line up to that whole amount. And now all of a sudden, how much tax have you paid?
Zero. And you see people doing that.
We don't see that often because we don't see that many policies.
Is it possible?
It is possible.
I always feel suspicious over that.
Yeah, no, it is possible. But here's what happens, because we get calls from a lot of members that listen or other people that listen to your podcast.
Please don't wave at me like that in a dismissive fashion.
You're amazing.
So anyone listening to this, Todd just waved at me in a dismissive fashion. No, it wasn't about the member. You weren't dismissing the member. You were clearly dismissing me.
Yes.
Okay. You're like, they listened to you, and then you waved your hand like that.
So it is a great concept, and it can get sold as a great concept. So we get calls and we say, hey, yeah, you can certainly look at doing that. So number one is, what are people surprised by? They're surprised by how long it takes for the cash value to actually get to a point where there's a significant amount of money. I think people, when they're hearing or hearing on a podcast or seeing something online was, be your own bank, they think that they can do this for a couple of years and there's going to be this big pot of money. It takes time for that money to get built up. So that's the number one surprise is, shit, it takes it's going to be like 15 years before there's any significant value in there, right? So that's number one. And then number two is the premium. So if somebody says, well, it's either one of two ways. I think I need, we go through an exercise and you need $4 million in life insurance. Well, I only want it in permanent. And I show them something that's a mortgage payment for 2 different houses. That's how much the premium is. They're like, what the fuck? Like that? Really? Because they don't realize that there's a cost, an investment associated with that. So that's the other one too, is that, wow, it's going to be that much. Because I think some think, well, I can have the property cash flow pay for it. Mm-hmm. Well, properties aren't cash flowing thousands of. Well,
not right now. Well, it depends when you bought them. And it depends on when you bought them. Such a loaded question.
But it's usually, a single family dwelling, it's maybe hundreds of dollars if you're lucky per month. And if you're looking at a large permanent policy, it's a big investment, right?
Yeah, got it. Wow. All right, Todd O'Donnell. So since we're on that subject, where do people, if they want to have questions about insurance, what's the URL? How do people find you? I'm about to ask you about the Leafs in a second.
Yeah, the easiest one, just go to our phone numbers and my email is insurancetodd.com. That's the same, I think it's our handle for Instagram, insurance_Todd.
Oh, it's good to know that you know about this about your business. That's very kind of you. Insurancetodd.com.
.com, yes.
It's pretty creative of you.
Yes, yeah.
You got insurance in there and your name.
That's right. Yeah.
Way to go, dude. I'm surprised that was available. InsuranceTodd.com. Okay.
It's for sale.
If you need if you're looking for insurance, you can find me at InsuranceTodd.com.
Yeah.
I think it's his Instagram handle too. We're not too sure.
Well,
Try it out. Go on Instagram.
There might be an underscore in there, maybe for Instagram.
Oh, really?
Because believe it or not, Insurance Todd might have been taken.
Oh, wow. I'm shocked. Creativity of that. But InsuranceTodd, all one word.com. That is the right thing.
Yeah. And when we're talking about it, just sorry to interrupt, but if we're talking about something like that, like life critical, like go to the website and give us a call. Like you're not going to find some great information on that website that's going to make.
I think these things
better just have a conversation. Yeah, you need a conversation. That goes back to.
And I should thank you. I mean, you have been helping Rockstar clients now for, since it's been since 2008. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
From the very beginning, and you've seen houses burn down, and you've seen. Were you the oil tank in the backyard?
Oh yeah, the oil tank for the swimming pool.
That was a special one.
Yeah, gas. It was gas heat for the house, but there was a buried oil tank. They
buried it, and no one knew about it. And then someone put a shovel in the ground and hit an oil tank or whatever.
Yeah,
that one was awesome because the whole yard was dug up, and
and the neighbors' yards.
Yeah, a couple $100,000 in cleaning soil and stuff. Always in fun insurance line. So. No, I mean, thank you for the way you guys have handled, and your team has been always great. So thank you for the way you guys have handled insurance with Rockstar clients and done the whole bit. I mean, I think it's like a niche thing. I don't think everybody handles investors who are buying rental properties. Like maybe they say they do, but you have a lot of experience in this stuff, and we really kind of value it. And it's like tricky business, and there's always going to be somebody upset at something, especially with insurance. So appreciate you being so patient with people and so patient with us and handling it for so many years.
And we appreciate the relationship, and it's, especially for somebody that's maybe buying their first investment property, like they're scared, right?
Scared.
So we try our best to kind of,
we've seen this before.
We've seen it before. We got this. We do ask a lot of questions, and I think people are like, why are you asking? Well, because we want to make sure.
You've seen this before.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think I think the scariest moments still that now we've had a bunch. One of the scariest moments that I've ever had is when we had that one tenant call me and say, Environment Canada's shutting down this rental property that you're renting out to me because there's asbestos siding and it's illegal and you need to sell the house to me. It was a rent to own. And the buyout price I feel like was like $310 or $290 or something, and you have to sell the house for me. I will buy the house from you in its current state at $220, and if you don't sell it, you're screwed because Environment Canada is shutting down the whole house on Monday. They're going to tent the whole house. I called Environment Canada. I will just never forget that I called Nick. I apologized. Yeah. I lost all our money. Sorry about that. I don't know what's happening. And then we made a few phone calls the next weekend. We realized, no, asbestos siding is fine. It's just if you remove it, it has to be removed in
be done proper
way. Yeah. And the guy was just totally trying to scam us.
Sure.
And that really is what we have found valuable in having people, getting to refer people to people like you, is that real estate investing is so much about having an information advantage over the situation. Because if you don't know the right paralegal, lawyer, insurance, mortgage broker, home inspector, you don't have all the information and you freak out, or at least I did. And then you have a good network around you and you can make a quick phone call. You have the information you need and everything's kind of put to bed. And at that time, we didn't have contacts. We were scared if we called a lawyer, they were going to charge us $500 an hour just to talk to them on the phone. So we didn't call a lawyer. We called our home inspector. I started calling some asbestos removal places, and they were the ones who taught me that this is going to be okay.
Crazy.
So it was 72 hours of panic until I realized, oh my gosh, the guy's trying to scam me. Anyway.
Yeah, there's people out there like that.
Oh gosh. So the Leafs, I just want remember when this goes out, we're deep into this first round. So we might we could possibly.
What are the games? When's the first game?
I think it's Saturday. So it'll be Saturday, Monday, and then a couple of days off, and then maybe Thursday, Saturday, something like that. So if this goes out next week, 3 games might have already been played. We could be down 3-0, or we could be on our way to a sweep. I'm going to go, we win 3-1. That's what I'm going with.
Holy
I know.
Shit.
I know. I'm the foolish, brazen. 3-1, we beat Boston. We finally put the Bruins to rest.
So I'm going to say, okay, so if this is coming on, let's say it's
end of next week.
So 3 games.
3 games will likely be played while this is coming out.
It's going to go Boston, Toronto, Boston. We're going to be down
2-1. when this comes out.
Yeah.
And then who wins the series? Say it.
No,
I know you say it. They lose.
They lose.
Yeah.
They lose.
Why?
Because, we talked about at the beginning of this, like,
so bullish
about getting work.
So bullish on the Blue Jays, and you're so
no, I'm not bullish on them. What did I say? Did I say the Blue Jays are going to win the World Series?
No, you said they're good.
Yeah, they're decent.
No, well, you changed it now.
Yeah.
You said,
well, they're not horrible, as you had said.
well, I watched the first few games. Oh my God, what a joke.
But we talk about level-headed. I'm not level-headed about the Leafs. Like, I get worked up. So this is the year where I'm going in with very low expectations, so that it doesn't matter. If they make it on, great. If they don't, it is what it is. Because I get too worked up every year, and I'm not doing that to myself this year.
I feel like I'm not going to get that worked up, even if we lose. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. I feel confident that I'm not going to get worked up. I don't know. I know what we have. We don't have a goalie. We don't have the best defense. We have a lot of offense.
Yeah.
And I think we do have some team toughness now. Like Domi giving people uppercuts, Bertuzzi doing face washes. We have some grit.
Yeah.
We got a bit of team toughness.
Yeah, I'm interested to see who they bring through to play in this round. Like, are they going to bring Reeves? Like, he's actually, he had a terrible start to the season.
But the second...
He has been, that fourth line has been really good.
They've been... Aiden and I were at a game a couple of weeks ago. It was so funny. He was having a great game. I'm like, holy crap, look at Reeves out there. But you can tell he gets gas still. Yeah. So whenever they were in the offensive zone and he knew it was time to shift, he would turn around and start skating to the bench, and he could barely get there, and he would start waving. He was the only person skating to the bench. Like, you knew he was shifting, but he was still waving like, shift me. Like, dude.
Well, he gets 3 minutes a game, right? So a 45-minute shift is killing him.
Yeah, but I love the guy. And I think we need that team. But I feel now with Reeves, with Labushkin, and with Edmondson or whatever.
Edmondson, he's a big dude.
Edmondson. Bertuzzi's got that grit.
Bertuzzi and Domi.
He can be annoying.
Yeah.
Both Domi and Bertuzzi can be those annoying guys that we've never really had since Darcy Tucker.
So what's the top line?
Oh, they got to keep Domi, Matthews, and
Bertuzzi. You think so? Okay.
Oh, I think it's already decided.
Okay.
I think they've come out and said they can't split that lineup. And if I guess they're going to try it on game one. Let's face it. If game one goes horribly wrong, Marner will be back up. But if we can do that, and you can put Marner on another line, and if you can actually put Nylander on a third line, but if you can put Tavares, Marner, and Nylander as a second line, Marner is defensively...
Yeah, and then that third line, Nyes, Robertson, is it Holmberg?
Yeah.
That's...
Nyes I like.
Yeah.
Nyes is someone else we didn't tough. He'll drop the gloves.
Yeah.
So that third line's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So Jan Kruk, I think, is going to be injured for a little bit.
Oh, he's not back?
No, he's not back right now.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
But yeah, then it's like that new guy Dewar, who's a little bit of a pesky kind of guy.
Yeah. He can score goals apparently, but he's on the fourth line.
He's on the fourth line, but I think he scored one as a Leaf so far. Yeah. And then you got Reeves down there, and it's escaping me who's centering that line right now. Why is it not coming to me?
Camp.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I look at that lineup, and if we can hold Marner on another line, we're
I know.
That's a troubling. But then defensively, sometimes I look at TJ Brody and I love him, and other times I'm like,
he's been hit and miss.
What's happening? Yeah. And Benoit, I love just because he'll hit people. Yeah. Riley, people love or hate him. I like him.
He can the puck and he'll hit. I mean, he's not a huge guy.
Last year he had some big OT goals, at least one. Yeah. So I don't know, Samsonov, he's hot or cold.
And Woll was hot, but then he got hurt.
He was our future. And
well, after that injury, he just hasn't been himself.
He doesn't seem like himself. And then we got Murray coming back. I don't know if you dare put him back in. He's played I know. That's how I know.
We're in a tough fucking spot if we're throwing Murray into the playoffs.
Oh my God. Why can't we have a goalie who just gets, every playoff run, there's one goalie who's where did he come from? He's just the hottest thing ever. I think it was Murray for the Penguins.
Yes, that's right.
I think it was him.
Yeah.
And then,
when he was a rookie like this.
A rookie. He's winning in the Stanley Cup. Yeah. It's why can't we have a goalie who's just oh my God.
Maybe, like you said, maybe this is the year. Now, okay, so two things. 70? Is he getting a 70? Matthews?
Oh, that game's tonight. Yeah.
Is it tonight?
Yeah, it's tonight.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah.
Tampa.
Back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Meaningless game.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gets it.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Leaf enemy says no.
So how many points does he have overall?
I don't know. It's not that huge amount of assists. I don't know what it is.
But so there's been talk this week about it. Yeah. No conversation for MVP. I'm like, really?
I know. I think it's
like, I know the other guys have like 140 points, and I get that, but I'm like, I think assists, it's
the media has this reverse effect on the Leafs that like they feel like, oh, all Leaf players get praised so much that they can't give them their due when they deserve it. This guy's one of the best defensive forwards in the game now, who is also on the verge of scoring 70 goals. Yeah. But they're going to talk about Kucherov, who's scoring just because he has a lot more goals than the second guy. I don't know. I'm not buying it. Yeah. 70 goals. No one's done that in 30 years?
Yeah.
And he's a...
And what wins games?
Goals.
Yeah.
Kucherov does have the goals too, but I mean, Matthews is defensive.
Yeah.
It's weird to me.
Yeah.
But anyway. Someone was asking me the other day, who's more exciting to watch, Matthews or McDavid? I would say McDavid is fun because he's fast.
Yes.
And McKinnon's fast. Yeah. But Matthews is just like a vacuum. He will scoop, he will steal the puck from you and whip it at the net and score a goal. Like it's different, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Go Leafs, go.
Yeah.
Todd, thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Appreciate you, too. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Go Leafs, go.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.